If you're listening to this podcast, there's a good chance that you're a hunter or you just enjoy the great outdoors. Now's the time to step up. There have been countless efforts to vilify hunters, denounce the legitimacy of the science-based wildlife management model. There's no science to this stance, and it is solely emotionally charged. We don't want to see what happened with the grizzly hunt replay itself again with the remaining large carnivores and big game species. It's a slippery slope, folks. We need to stand together. Now is the time for hunters to be united across all organizations and show our combined support. Please go to wildsheepsociety.com/act now and follow the steps. It doesn't take much time, and it will help save the future of hunting. This applies to residents and non-residents alike. Please, let's use our voice and be heard. On with the show, folks. This is episode 37 of the Wilderness Locals podcast. On this episode, our guest is Steve Ecklund. Steve is the host of Edge TV and has his own brand, Next Level Hunter. This podcast is brought to you by Kifaru International, the toughest hunting gear on the planet, bar none. Frontiersmen Gear, high quality, completely custom handmade knives made in the heart of the Peace Country. And as always, we're brought to you by Just Shooting Arrows, BC's premier archery shop. I told Wasey I was gonna tease you right out of the gate, and I was gonna say, man, I love your show. How'd you come up with your catchphrase? And then I figured you would be like, what are you talking about, catchphrase? And I'd be like, if they don't find you handsome, they should at least find you handy.
I thought you were gonna use a boneyard reference. Put bones in the boneyard.
Oh yeah, that blew my mind when you posted that side by side. I was like, oh my god, Steve is red green.
I know. I did it the first time, and people were like freaking out over it, and I was kind of like taken back a little bit, right? It's like fucking red green, really. And then I started to look like I went and watched some old stuff again. And I'm like, oh man, yeah.
You're really like, I am red green. Oh well, that's not bad.
Yeah.
I don't think Americans know who red green is.
Probably
not many. I don't think many. I mean, of course, all of Canada does,
Only really
so then I went on.
Americans.
They did that. Yeah, they did that. Hunter's auction on Wild TV, and they asked me to come do it live. So I dressed up as red green again, and oh my god,
I saw that.
They were the network was getting hammered with how did you get him out of retirement and all this stuff. Like, it was crazy.
That's wild. That's funny, man.
So go ahead. There's a bit of a lag here. I'm trying not to fuck it up too bad, but
just talk over me. It's all good.
So how's this work for you guys? You record it and then air it later on, or what's the deal?
Yeah, I mean, we air it basically whenever, and we do 3 a week, and we try to edit them as little as possible. That's basically it. It's we've had some really fun conversations, and we've had some really heavy conversations. So kind of cover a wide range of stuff. And often we talk about how guys got going, and, what gets them stoked and what doesn't get them stoked, and that kind of thing, man.
Yeah.
It's just cool. Yeah. It's like there's so many podcasts and so many shows out now where it's just dudes doing arm curls with their shirt off, and it's just complete bullshit. And podcasts are just like, you know what I mean, right? It's like in the podcast are all like, I'm the best hunter in the world, and it's like guys killed 4 mule
TV
deer
shows
ever.
are the same thing.
I know, but it's like your social media, you're not faking the funk either, right?
You either like it or you don't. And at the end of the day, it's not paying my mortgage or putting food on my table. So I really don't give a shit.
Yeah.
So I just,
be yourself, right?
Yeah.
That's the whole thing.
Steve always keeps it real. I think like he's probably the most realist guy doing it right now.
For sure.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate it. I mean, it's easy to do when you just commit to it, right? I think the hardest thing is, when people first start doing it, that little red light comes on, especially for TV. And the first thing you think about is, I got to say something cool. I got to do something cool. I have to say something profound. And, when I start doing that, I look like an idiot because I'm not that guy at all.
Yeah.
I'm not a wildlife biologist. I never even heard the word ungulate until 2 years ago when it became popular.
Yeah. No, I think it's cool, man. I think it's a lot of guys try to fake it till they make it, and then other guys try to just act so hard it makes it hard to watch. But I think it's cool that you're just yourself, and I mean, being you is enough, right? To sound like a grade 1 teacher.
I like this. I like the shit Steve's doing too, man. He's shooting porcupines with a fucking recurve, and he's shooting. And the last episode I seen, he got down out of a stand and shot a black bear with a recurve. And I was like, gangster. Like, that's pretty cool shit, right?
I like that.
Yeah, it's outside the box, but it's not. I think it's definitely not super polished. Like the show, I got like a 70-30 rule on the show, and I'll send in, a professional cameraman with me because I hate to self-film, hate it, because it takes away from what I'm trying to do. But the other thing is, I mean, you got to look at it from a realistical standpoint too. There's a budget, right? There's a show budget. You pay cameramen by the day. Cameramen are getting, $450, $500 a day. And, so, I mean, like on a bear hunt, they're sitting in the stand with you all day. And the only thing they really got to worry about is getting eaten. Like if I put them in some kind of weird predicament, and which can happen, really. But, so we'll do 70% of it really polished with professional, camera operators and all the drone stuff and all that cool stuff. And then at the end of the day, I'm not just going to shoot an animal to make a TV show. So that's why one of the reasons I'm hard to film, because I'll be like, try to film a whitetail hunt. It could happen and you could get lucky in 4, 5, 6 days, but usually it's like day 19, day 15. There's just not enough money in the budget to keep a professional cameraman sitting in that tree beside you doing nothing. And so that's where I'll jump in and I'll self-film, and we get the dummy cameras. They make really great dummy cameras for guys like me, little 4K Sony Handycams nowadays. Yeah. Turn it on, zoom it in, zoom it out. That's it, but the big fancy FS7s and all this other crap that they have, I don't even know how to turn it on. Like, no idea.
That's cool. How'd you get into the TV thing?
TV for me kind of came. It wasn't something I ever, set out to do. There was no game plan. I always hunted hard ever since I was a little kid, growing up in a hunting family. And then, when I moved out west 25 years ago, out to Alberta, I got my eyes opened up to an abundance of big game opportunities to hunt, and kind of just started going after it. And I always just hunted super hard because it was a passion of mine, and ended up doing pretty good with it. And at the same time, I was shooting professional archery, following a 3D circuit around here in Canada and down in the States a little wee bit.
Nice.
And ended up you start to develop, you go and you do this archery tournament and you win one and everybody claps and yay, that's awesome. And then you win the second and the third and the fourth, and kind of keeps going. And then you start to get these companies approaching you saying, hey, will you shoot our arrows? Will you promote shoot for us, like our bow, different bow manufacturers? So you kind of build a portfolio, which I didn't know at the time. It was just pictures in an album for me. But you build this portfolio, and next thing you know, I think one of the big things, one of the big sponsors that came on board was Cabela's. And, I started as a pro staff for them probably 4 years before they even came to Canada. So like 14, 15 years ago. Mm-hmm. And then of course they came to Canada and it kind of blew up from there. But you had these big partners that were connected to what you were doing out in the field hunting, just from an advertisement standpoint. And in the same year, I got offered 2 gigs to host a TV show, to co-host TV shows. And the one was with the Canadian Tradition with a guy named Taylor Wright out of Ontario. And then the guys from Wild TV that were running The Edge. I think The Edge was season 2, and they asked me to come and co-host. And I actually turned The Edge down, and I went with the Canadian Tradition. Not a lot of people know that, but it was my first year doing TV was with the Canadian Tradition. And, it went good. I learned a lot. But it wasn't quite my gig. There's just, Taylor's a great guy, and the show it's a great show and all that stuff. It just wasn't.
It's pretty polished, the show, though, right? Like,
it's very polished, and it's for me, a hard sell. And I'm not a hard sell kind of guy. Like, you're never going to see me take a picture with my whitetail and put my backpack in front of it with my little spray bottle of shit, to spray down with. I'm not doing that. If that's what you want for a partner, then I'm not the right guy for you. That's a hard sell. I'm more like, if you could see it, falling off the back of my truck 50 yards behind me, then, that's what it's all about for me.
Yeah.
And I think the companies are paying these influencers are doing less than that. Even some of these guys.
Yeah. I mean, again, I would never put myself in the category of an influencer.
No,
that's dangerous waters, I think, for a guy like me, because, I guess you can call it real. You can say, hey, it's real, and you are what you are, and that's great. But, at any given time, I can go off the rails, and I've had companies, really upset with me because I'm calling them as I see them, or, throwing my, what I call stupid humor into the mix. If it's funny to me, I think it's funny to anybody. So that's why I do it, so, but it comes down to, I'll have honest conversations with people even before we partner with them, and of course, I'm not the sales guy for our show either. My co-host, Joe, he looks after all that stuff. I'm more about, if it's a good product and I want to use it, then we go after them, and see if a partnership can develop from it. But outside of that, it's Joe will give them the spiel. Hey, never mind the Edge social media page. You better go look at Steve Ecklund, Next Level Hunter. And then, if you're cool with that, then we can proceed.
Yeah. No, that's sweet if they see your vision on how to do things, right? So
yeah, well, and it's me being me, but it's also, I think, by doing that, and I think more people should do that, because there is a sea of heroes that are in this TV hunting world. And I mean, I'm not a fan of that whole thing, like, if you're going to do it and you're one of these people that gets the privilege to stand on an elevated stage and spread the message shouldn't be about, hey, look at me, I'm the best hunter out there and I shot the biggest deer. Who gives a shit? I don't care. Stand on that elevated stage, because it is a privilege, and let people know that you're doing it from a conservation standpoint. My biggest thing is making sure that my little niece, who's 9, if she chooses, has the opportunity to hunt, fish, trap, spend time in the outdoors, because this world right now, as you guys know it, I mean, it's super friggin' soft, like super soft. Mm-hmm. And, again, we're losing these battles on a daily basis. And for years, the fight that was brought to our door, our idea of dealing with it as outdoorsmen was to not do anything at all. Mm-hmm. block, delete, hang up the phone, look the other way. And I'm not that guy. Mm-mm. I mean, I've watched it. That got us nowhere. I'd rather stand up, throw a few haymakers, and realize that I'm going to get punched in the face more often than not. But I'm going to stand up for what I believe in, and that's the future of our hunting heritage. That's why I do it. You know, I didn't do it. I'm not hunting the way I hunt because I want to be a hero. I do a TV show that has nothing to do with who I am or why I hunt. All of our partners, and we got some great partners, but they know that I'm not there for that reason. I'm there to make sure that we have these opportunities in the future. And I'm not going to go into this fight and not throw a punch. You know what I mean? That's it. All these comments you see, I mean, I know AC sees them, sometimes on my Facebook page and Instagram and whatever else I got going on. But I'll leave all those comments up there when a lot of people say, well, you should just delete that. I'm like, no, I'm not deleting that. Read what they say. Those people are crazy.
I think that you get a lot of heat, Steve, and I don't know why. I guess maybe it's because, I fire back, but I fire back, I'm not there calling these people assholes and idiots. And I am, but I'm not coming right out and saying that. There's definitely some hidden undertones in my replies, but I found that, I've fought them tooth and nail. I've tried to educate them. I mean, the general public's not seeing all the private messages and everything else that goes with it, right? But I've done everything that you can imagine to try to bring our point across and tell them it's about conservation and wellness of the animals and sustainable populations and, human encroachment and all this kind of stuff that kind of ties in. But at the end of the day, they don't care about any of that. You're trying to talk to somebody who believes that they're a vegan, so they're the voice of the animal. Now you go ahead and tell me that you're going to have a sane conversation with somebody who believes that they're the voice of the animal. Yeah.
I mean,
that's I don't know. That's an uphill battle. I don't even know anymore where to go. Because it's the same thing over and over and over. And just,
it is. You're never going to change them too. And I mean, it's just so easy to see that in social media today because you battle them and it's like, hey, quit killing those harmless deer. And then you go, or, the cat, the whole cougar thing. I mean, that was off the charts, right?
So just so people don't know, so Steve shot a line. What year did you shoot that line?
I think it was 4 years ago now. Yeah, so 3 or 4 years ago.
So Steve shoots a lion, and it was nothing crazy. He took a few pictures with it. You ate the lion, and it just blew up. Like Steve had killed Cecil the mountain lion. Like it was fucking bonkers, man. It was on the news. It was on CBC News.
Yeah, it was bonkers. It was like a movie. I can remember, I seen it coming. You get this spike in your social media stuff, right? All the haters. And it's like, okay, I see these spikes all the time, but this one was a little different. And next thing you know, like it was literally overnight. I woke up the next morning and it was just like, you could scroll your phone with a 6-foot wingspan. And it was just, I'm going to kill you. I'm going to run over your family. I'm going to, my niece, who they all thought was my daughter, we're going to, if we see her on the road, we're going to run her over. And of course, it's all keyboard warriors, right?
Yeah.
And, but it got to the point where, what's her name? Harper. I forget her first name. But anyways, our former first lady, and she come out and tweeted that I must be compensating for a small penis.
Did you DM her a photo? Because that's my immediate reaction.
You know, but this is the thing. So all of a sudden it kind of starts in the UK, and it usually does, you know, heavy animal activists, anti-hunters from the UK. And then you get really big pockets in North America out of New York, California. And, but here it is right at home. Our former first lady, you know, Stephen Harper's wife, comes out and tweets this. And I thought it was bullshit. And then we checked it out and it was legit. And then it went all the newspapers. It was like a movie. I remember leaving Wild TV's parking lot, and there was like, I don't know if you'd call them news people or paparazzi people banging on my windows of my truck to try to get me to say something. And I just was like, I'm not doing it.
So this is how I knew it went full scale, because my dad lives in the sticks. He's a 70-year-old man. He just got the internet a few years ago. But my dad did not have the internet before this was going on. I show up at my dad's house. He's like, "Hey, do you know this Steve Ecklund?" I kind of looked at him. I said, "Yeah." He's like, "Did you know he shot a mountain lion?" I'm like, "I heard." So I knew it had went full scale if my dad was talking about it. I was like,
"Oh yeah." You know, and the craziest thing, I mean, you know, to us that live here, I mean, no, it wasn't a big deal at all. One of probably, I don't know how many cats get killed a year.
Many.
But unbeknownst to me, you know, like Wasey mentioned, you know, we take the fur, we took the meat, we actually cooked a stir fry out of it. And I made a good shot on it. Now, as a kind of in my head anyway, hey, you know, it was a quick, clean, ethical, the best kill you could get. Here's the broadhead tracks through the heart. And I'm holding the heart up, showing the, you know, the broadhead marks through the heart. And nobody cares. They take it into a different context completely, right? I'm a satanic something or other because I'm holding up the organs of a cat. I'm some kind of monster because I ate it. And you know, and then something else would happen and they'd be the first one saying, well, you didn't, why would you kill it if you don't eat it? You know, like it's a never ending bullshit session with these people.
It's like hey Ty, it's kind of like the BC bear thing too. It's just like people with bears and cats. I don't know. And same with wolves too. It's like a weird thing that they're trying to fight for. I don't know.
Oh yeah.
The large carnivore thing, right?
I know. I kind of got one brewing right now. And it's funny how it works with social media too, because it's always the post that you did like 6 months ago. It comes back to bite in the ass right now. And I got one brewing right now because I posted, I think I was going back up for a wolf hunt again in January.
Cool.
And I posted that same picture of my cougar and I laid it over on, you know, right beside the wolf that I shot the year before. And I think I captioned it something like, you know, are you a cat lover or a dog lover? You know, and I said, I can't help it. I'm going to hunt both. And now that's starting to pick up some negative steam over across the pond.
It's funny when you have these conversations with these people that are completely just out of touch with reality and how nature works and the cycle of life and the part we play in it. They're just, it cracks me up. It honestly cracks me up because you get into these conversations with people. And if you actually get into a like reasonable discussion with somebody that's not, you know, an extremist, like way on that outer 10%, but somewhere in the middle, you have a conversation with somebody like that. And by the end of it, they're like, I had no idea about any of this. Why isn't anybody teaching us this stuff? It blows my mind. It's like when I interviewed Shockey on here, he said like, he was like, I asked him, I was like, if you had any advice for all of us going forward for how to handle this stuff, he goes, well, look, there's 10% of us that are pro hunting, that are hunters, right? then he goes, 80% of the population is ours to lose. And he said, there's that 10% that is extreme and we're never going to win them over. But that 80% in the middle is ours to lose. And like, I feel like, I mean, they definitely lean towards the anti side, but like if we're doing a good job educating, I find people turn around pretty quickly.
Well, the hardest thing about educating is you can't educate the masses. You know, the best education comes from one-on-one experiences. And that's such a long, tedious task, right? You can get I've had anti-hunters where I've spent 3 days, you know, going back and forth with messages in great length and detail. Mm-hmm. And at the end of it, you know, you're not going to turn them, they're not going to turn you, but there's a bit of a mutual respect. Mm-hmm. And it's basically a win. But trying to educate the masses all at once. Yeah. It's so difficult to do, you know, and I listened, you know, Wasey sent me that, the podcast you did with Jim, and it was very good. Thanks. Jim is you know, he's a great guy. He's a great ambassador for the sport. He's, a lot more politically correct than a guy like myself is going to be. Us too. You know, which is good, but
yeah. I like the fact, for me, I like how Steve is, and I like how I am, and I like how, like, it's like we're kind of hunters that were cut from the earlier days. Mm-hmm. And it's for us to be like, oh, you know, we're gonna be under this meat eater, Ranilla umbrella. It's kind of tough for me to do because I've always ate meat and I've always ate everything you kill, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, it's just like we're different. We're different. I don't know. We come across different. I'm not trying to say that we're bad, but it's just like there's the new generation of these hunters that are kind of maybe portraying things a bit different than we are. But not that we're doing it bad or wrong, but it's just like we're kind of old school in how we doing shit, right?
Yeah. I couldn't agree with you anymore. You know, it's like little comments that I made earlier. I mean, ungulate. I never heard that word until 2 years ago when it got popular. Stuff like you go, and I'm one of these guys who gets asked to stand on a stage and talk to 200, 300, 400 people at a time. You know, you get up there and it's like, well, we're filling the freezer. Why are we telling people that we're filling the freezer? It makes no sense to me. Mm-hmm. Of course we're filling the freezer. If we're successful, if we're dog shit at hunting, then maybe we're not. But like, I just don't understand why we feel the need to say all this stuff. Right? Yeah. I'm filling the freezer. It's like somebody telling me, oh, you need to wait till that deer's broadside before you shoot him. You know what? Just shut up right now, because I've heard it 1,000 times. I don't need anyone to tell me, you know, to wait till an animal's broadside. Number one, I don't even believe that horse shit. Spend a bunch of time and get proficient with your equipment, whether it's a bow or a rifle or whatever. Learn the anatomy of the animals that you're after and understand how you can kill them versus just one single way, you know, because I guarantee you can kill them like this, and like that. Maybe even like this if you're real good, you know. Just so many different things and so many things that were almost nowadays it's bred into us that we're supposed to say that. And I don't want to say any of that stuff. Yeah. I want to just tell you about me and how I got into it. You know?
Yeah. You know how, like, what, I don't want to beat this drum too hard, but like, so in Alberta, you know, Steve, we got in our draws, it's antelope and then trophy antelope. Like, I heard talk that they wanted to remove the word trophy out of it.
Really?
Because just so to me, like, trophy was never a bad word, but it almost seems like taboo to say anymore. You know, like,
I think it's been weaponized, and kind of where I was going to jump into this conversation is when you were talking about your cat, your lion kill, Steve. You said I even ate it. I'm like, for me, I'm like, why do we need to? I feel like we're bending to their will a little bit. Like, you don't need to justify it by saying you ate it, because those we need to manage that population, right? That's the whole reason we get the tag. The biologists don't care if you eat it. They want the population at a certain threshold, and that's it. So like you're as much as we like to go out and hunt, we're utility in a lot of ways, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
I was excited, to eat that. That was to eat a cat like that and have, I was out with Churnies and Claudette cooked it up, and she's a pretty good cook and cooked it up into a stir fry. So it was fun, it was super cool. We didn't set out going, hey, we have to eat this and I got to take photographs of it for my IG page.
Yeah.
We just happened to do it. And, I happened to take some shots while it was in the frying pan and thought, well, we'll go full circle on this one. And didn't help.
Hunting gets so like a lot of this modern hunting stuff and a lot of these like modern hunting media companies and stuff, it gets so polarizing. It's like, let's do everything so we can make as many people as happy as possible, and it's like, it's one of those things where for me, it's just like, there comes a point where you just need to be honest about stuff, right? Like I had Doug Duran on here, and because he's one of the meat eater guys, I assumed he was gonna say like, oh, I harvested a deer, and I was like, I don't know what you say, harvest or kill. I say kill. He's like, oh, I say kill, and I was like, okay, cool, you're old school. Like I get it. Like we don't have to bend to everybody's will. We're in weird times, man, and I think that same sentiment applies across society right now, and it's scary, but I don't know. It's good to see you're being yourself, which is cool.
Yeah, I think as much as I can be, I try to, especially on TV. I mean, I'm being me, but I'm trying to be the best me.
Yeah,
it's not Saturday night out with my buddies me, of course, because that's a whole other can of worms. But
yeah, I've heard about
I'm trying to be the best. But I also think, you mentioned like trying to be honest. The way society is right now, I don't think they're ready for honest. I think we're way past that now.
Yeah.
And it's sad because I don't know. Wasey mentioned it earlier, it's kind of old school. I'm like, you got to get punched in the face to know if it hurts.
Yeah.
And nowadays it's just not like that anymore.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. I think it's important too that I mean, I know I say we got to be honest, but at the same time, we also have to put out the correct messaging to help our own case, right? We can't be doing some of the stuff that's happened in BC recently where it's just hurting the case more than it's helping, right? There's some obvious stuff. But we should get into some fun stuff here before we get down the rabbit hole too far of how crazy the crazies are,
Yeah.
Right.
Oh, your lead. What do you want?
One thing I want to bring up too is last year, Steve, nobody that I know that has a full-time job that stacks bodies like you do on your show. Like right out of the gate last year, you were like turkey and a bison and wolves and frick. It's just like, I can't hang with that. So
I get asked it quite a bit. And the question is, how do you manage to do that with a full-time job? And a lot of people, who maybe only know me from TV world or internet land or whatever it is, they don't understand that, I'm not a trust fund baby. Didn't win the lottery. We moved out here 25 years ago with my wife now, who was my girlfriend at the time, moved from Northern Ontario, just coming out here to get work. And to this day, I get a paycheck every 2 weeks like everybody else. But the big bonus to this is I actually stayed with the company, the very first job I ever got out here with Canalta Flow Measurement. And I've been there ever since. And the honest story is I got hired back then sweeping floors for $8 an hour. And 25 years later, I'm the director of sales and service for the company. And I look after all of North America. So Canada, the US, and Mexico.
Nice.
But where it ties in, where the answer to Wasey's question ties in here is 90%, 85% at least of our major clientele, both in Canada and the US, are fanatical hunters. So now they're seeing their sales guy, the same guy that's slinging orifice fittings and meter tubes, they get to watch him on TV and follow along with all my crazy antics on social media. And so it's a really good tie. It kind of brought everything together, which was a blessing for me because, a funny story, the very first year that I was sweeping floors, this is $8 an hour back then, lowest on the totem pole. And I think there was only 9 people. I was the 9th guy that got a job there. And I started in January. So we didn't have 2 nickels to rub together. My wife and I were bouncing around. She was bouncing around doing a couple different jobs at the time. And we're just trying to start our life. And the first hunt season that came around, I told my boss at the time, I said, hey, listen, I got a whitetail tag, a mule deer tag, a moose tag, and I'll probably be gone for at least a couple months. And he laughed and he didn't really pay too much attention to me and kind of went about his business. Well, I left and I filled my moose tag, filled my whitetail tag, and filled my mule deer tag and all this stuff. And I think I came back like 6 weeks later, grabbed my broom, started sweeping the floors, pushing the broom around. And I remember him coming around the corner. He goes, what in the hell are you doing here? And I said, well, I told you I was going to go hunting and filled my tags. I'm actually back a couple weeks early, so you're welcome. And he looked at me, he's like, you are nuts. And that was it. But it didn't matter because, you could get a floor sweeper anywhere, right? I had no critical role to play in the company whatsoever. So I managed to pull it off, and just kind of year after year, that was just what I did. Right. So nowadays, I hunt a lot, but even back then, I'd do 2-3 months just on my own, for sure.
Yeah. You got some sheep stuff planned this year too in BC. You got a BC trip you're going in August this year?
Actually the Yukon in August. I'm really excited about that one. I've done a lot of sheep hunts in the past and I've got to experience some really cool places doing that. And the Yukon, I just haven't been to the Yukon yet. So going up there for a sheep that I haven't killed before, which is with the fan and ram. Cool. Yukon stone, if you wanted to really dive into that, it's a kind of a splay between that stone and the dull sheep. But and then I'm going to do a grizzly bear hunt right after.
Wicked.
Nice. Yeah, so I'm really stoked about that. Going to try to do it all with the archery tackle. I've been fortunate enough to kill a couple of dull sheep already, but I haven't killed them with a bow. So I'm going to leave the rifle at home on this one. And just go on it. So,
what are you shooting for a bow, Steve?
Shooting Prime Archery out of Michigan. Really good stuff. I've been with those guys a long time, and I guess that's one of the things for me is with the show and the partners and the equipment that we use. I've been super fortunate the way it's kind of all worked out where I'm not using anything because they're stroking a check. Yeah. Because I really don't give a shit about that. My oil and gas job pays for the mortgage and everything else. The TV show for me is a passion project, and a lot of people don't understand that either. I don't collect a single dime from them in the form of a paycheck. But what they do is I get a percentage. Anything they would pay me comes in a percentage, and I just put it into a hunt budget. And that's why I get to kind of travel around and at least hunt these places like a rich dude would, doctors and lawyers and sheep hunts and all this crazy stuff. So it's all because of that, really.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I was excited to see you team with Kafaru too. I was like, yeah, that's a good fit.
And again, it's, when it comes, there's a perfect example, they, as much as I'd like to tell you how popular I am and how popular the show is, a lot of these guys like Aaron probably doesn't even know me, but their product is second to none. Yeah. And I really wanted to use it. And, you know, just fortunate that it worked out, and Bingo Bango, they ended up partnering with us, you know, and I couldn't be happier, because I'm also one of those guys that I'm promoting these products because I want to, again, for no other reason that this shit works, you know, and I've tried all of it. I'm a gear whore, especially all those years with Cabela's. I mean, if it exists, I've probably tried it, and, you know, put in some extensive, you know, self-research with it anyway, for sure.
We're actually sharing
Go ahead. Well, I was going to say, you sound like Ty, you're a fucking gear junkie.
Oh yeah. Yeah, no, I'm bad. I'm real bad. Sometimes Wasey has to tell me to chill and just like use what you have, dude. But,
well, I think, you know, that word influencer, you know, I know it's the thing. I know if you're on social media or anywhere and you're promoting a product, you're automatically lumped into this category of influencer. But I just think you have to, before you promote a product, you have to really run it through the ringer, because how can I ethically promote it and tell my friends to buy it?
yeah,
If I've tried it and I can't wreck it, then I'm going to probably promote it, because I'll wreck it for sure.
A dude who we both support, Tanner from Frontiersmen Gear, he has a drinking game written up for this podcast for every time I ruin a sponsorship opportunity. So they take a drink.
Yeah. Let's just say Rage Broadheads is not going to be sponsoring the show anytime soon.
No.
Yeah.
I was pretty
Tanner,
Go ahead.
I was just going to say, Tanner's a great guy. You know, I got a chance to, I went up this spring and did a lynx hunt up that way, and got a chance to go in there and shake his hand and meet him face to face. And, you know, again, even with that partnership for us on the blades, it was a send first, and then let's try to wreck them, and we'll see what happens. Right.
Yeah.
And my biggest thing is I've never become proficient at sharpening a knife ever. I've got literally $2,000 worth of trinket sharpeners, right to the $250, you know, belt driven plug-in jobby that's supposed to be super easy to use.
Oh yeah.
Which will eat knives, by the way. Eats them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Anyways, Tanner sent me the first blades and I fell in love with them. I mean, just the lightweight. Something that he probably doesn't get enough credit for are his holsters, the sheaths of these knives, the locking system that he has in there. I mean, these things they're high end, and he's just a hardworking guy that's doing this for a full-time gig, you know? Yep. So my hat's off to him, and he'll have my respect and influencership for as long as he wants me, you know?
Yeah. He's just a rock solid dude, man. I think I had him on here. I don't know, like he was like episode 10 or something. I'm not sure, but he's just rock solid. And like, he's like dove down the stick bow rabbit hole. Hey. And like, he's messaging Wasey in the middle of the night with archery questions, and the dude's the best. That guy's awesome. I think this September, I'm going to stop in there just to say hi.
Right on. Yeah, no, super good, dude. But Wasey, you seem to get a lot of these late night calls. I know I was banging on your door for a while.
I went on a bear hunt with a guy last night, and he had a 2-person ladder stand, and I was just going. He had a big bear he wanted to shoot, and he had a recurve, and he wanted me to go with him. My phone all night was just ding, 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 vibrating all night. He's like, does that ever stop? I'm like, no. I'm like, I wake up in the morning, I got 20 fucking messages from guys. It goes forever, but I don't mind. I love helping guys, man.
I'll tell you what, for me, I was never a trad-bow guy. And what really did it for me, we had a conversation. We were getting shit-faced, I think, one night in a bar, maybe after the bow hunter banquet. Yeah. And
you guys started
talking about all these stick bow adventures and bear hunting. And I have honestly done so much bear hunting in my lifetime. I mean, it's hard for me to remember, but it's got to be up around 50 legit bears, legally tagged 50 killed bears. That's gun, bow, muzzleloader, shotgun, you name it. And I love killing them. I'm not going to lie. Do it every year, shoot probably 2 or 3 a year. So I started thinking, you know what, this will get me revved up for the bear hunt. I'll do it with the trad bow. And so I got me a trad bow and, threw a target up in the backyard at 20 yards. And I mean, I'm spraying them. I mean, one arrow is here, one arrow is here. And with nobody really close to me that could, kind of come over to the house and say, hey, do this and do that. And I started pinging Wasey, and Wasey walked me through actually quite a bit, man. I'll give you that. I learned quite a bit from you just over the phone and stuff. So appreciate it very much. And we're kind of getting it dialed in. I had it out today, and believe it or not, I know you're probably giving me shit for this, but I actually paper tuned this thing.
Mm-hmm. That's right. I don't even know if that's a thing, but I was shooting it through the paper, and I started messing around, twisting my string, and I got my brace height. It started out at 7, and I went 1/4 inch increments all the way out. And when I hit 8.5 inch brace height, that arrow of mine, like a hot bullet.
So I know some guys, like half the guy probably paper tune like that, and then the other half bear shaft tune. Yeah, I'm a bear shaft guy. So,
or if you're OCD
I've got the bear shafts here, but I was doing it in the house today because it's raining, it's pouring rain here, and I didn't want to shoot the recurve in the man cave. I'm not that brave.
When are we going to shoot one in a hotel room, Wace?
Oh, fuck. Did you tell Steve that we went down south for mule deer last year, Steve, and we stayed it was pretty cold. So we're like, we'll just grab a hotel room. And Ty missed a nice muley. And we got back to the room the whole time. I could just see it was wearing on him. He's like, I got to shoot my bow right now. I'm like, well, so he sets a target up in the hotel room and starts banging away arrows. I'm like, I hope the fuck one of them don't end up in the elevator and someone's in there or something.
That's awesome. Yeah, that's awesome.
It was funny.
It's actually a good little tip. I used to do it all the time. Of course, it's a little different now because we built the man cave and we got archery lanes in here. But I used to have this little wee space, and I'm always a fixed pin shooter. So I'd get my pins, and once I got it completely dialed in, I would stand at 5-6 feet, and I would shoot these distances, and I'd start marking them out. Okay, well, this pin, the gap between these two pins, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, has to be this at close yardage. That way there, if something ever happened, I could go in a hotel room and really rough it really close to being bang on the money.
See, I don't think people know, Steve. That you're past what you were, because how long have you been shooting a bow? People don't know that you had a pretty successful run in the target archery world.
Yeah. That's
so how old were you when you picked up your first bow?
I was probably 12, I guess. 12 years old, and getting upward, pushing the big 5-0 here soon.
Was your dad a bow hunter or anything?
No, my dad actually worked at the pulp and paper mill, and then on the side he owned a gun shop.
Oh, cool.
So he was a self-proclaimed gunsmith, and we sold the heck out of the guns. We lived right on the edge of an Indian reservation, Sagamuk Indian Reservation in Northern Ontario. And he probably could have won some kind of award for selling more 303 British guns into that Indian reservation than anyone on the planet. $75 a piece and just nonstop.
Yeah. nonstop.
But yeah,
that's sweet.
the
Like,
archery world for me, I think, that's kind of the big thing where it all kind of got started. I remember, picking up a bow. My dad bought me the first compound bow. I always had the little, fiberglass jobbies from Canadian Tire or whatever. Used to be able to buy wooden arrows, and they had the broadhead already glued onto the front of them. And so my dad and his friends would go out and they'd hunt. And then, if they were successful with the moose or a deer, my big thing was they'd prop it up and they'd let them cheat at it, at a real carcass. Of course, it's dead already, but in my little mind, right, this was me, just living it, the whole thing. This was all me right here. Here's my chance, and shoot my little arrow at him, And then I remember him buying me my first compound, and we had a little birthday party, and the kids had to come from a long ways around because, it's like a mile bike ride, right, to get to the house or get to your nearest buddy's house.
Yeah.
And anyways, all the parents bring their kids. We're having this thing, and my dad comes out and he's got this, I don't even remember the name of it, but it's a compound bow. And I was just like, this is the Holy Grail. And it ended up being the most devastating childhood birthday I've ever had, because out of everyone at my whole birthday party, I was the only guy that couldn't pull it back. Oh. It was too much for me. So I was like devastated. And anyway, obviously got over that and kind of worked up the juice to get her going. And kind of just archery was a thing for me that extended our hunting season. Instead of a 2-week Ontario deer season, now I had 5 weeks or 6 weeks. That's awesome. Just prolonged everything. I could hunt longer. I could hunt more, different opportunities. And then one day I remember a buddy of mine from Sudbury, Ontario, asked me to go into a 3D competition on Manitoulin Island. And I was like, what's a 3D competition? He said, you're going to love it. It's like 20 life-size animal targets, and you get to shoot all of them twice a day. And I was like, oh, Jesus, I didn't even know this existed. Like, sign me up. So when we got there, the organizers of this, and I mean, this is a hillbilly shoot. This is no big shoot. This is kind of like your backyard, bring your own sandwich. And anyways, when we got there, the organizers split up our group. And so I didn't get to hunt with my buddy, or I didn't get to shoot with my buddy. And we met at lunchtime, and he goes, well, how'd you do? And I go, well, not very good. I said, I missed one. And he looks at me and he goes, you only missed one? And I didn't know, right? Anyways, I ended up winning this competition, the very first one I ever went in. And it kind of lit a spark for me. I'm super competitive as it is, but it lit a spark for me. And I worked really super hard to become proficient. And then I guess at the pinnacle of it all was kind of 1999 for me. I won a gold medal at the National 3D Championships. And of course, the hunting always stayed, followed that through. I can remember doing, newspaper articles, and kind of reading them back now makes me laugh, because I was just so confident, which is so easy to mistake for arrogance in a lot of cases. But I was telling reporters that, if it was 0 to 60 yards away, I might as well have a 30-06 in my hand.
Yeah.
Just stupid shit like that. But
I like it.
It was a lot of fun, man. I've had a lot of fun with it. And, I probably, what really got me out, I won the gold medal and kind of stopped doing professional, following the circuit, and really kind of laid off it because it was exhausting. To be to run your equipment at that level. I was working, a 10 or a 12-hour shift at work, and then coming home and shooting 3 or 4 hours a day. There was probably 7 years span there where I didn't, when we moved out here, it took us 3 days to drive out And that was the longest time in like 7 or 8 years that I hadn't shot a bow. You know, so.
Yeah. No, that's awesome. A lot of people don't know that you had a pretty good run there in the
yeah. Back in the day.
Yeah.
What was
but that was like,
what was, sorry, go ahead, Wace.
Well, I was just going to say, like, that wasn't, it's not what archery wasn't as popular back then as it is now. Like it would have been like people, if Steve would have said to somebody, I shoot on a 3D target tour or whatever, they'd probably look at you like you got a horn growing out of your ass, you know?
Yeah.
I was going to say, what was the hot bow when you were really in it?
I won the national championships with the bow out of New Berlin, Wisconsin, and it was called the Forge Flight.
Nice. Probably had steel cables on it and stuff, right?
No, it wasn't that bad. But you know, it does bring up a funny thing. That first tournament I ever won, I still have the articles here. I should have dug them out, but I could have showed them to you. Front page of the Manitoulin newspaper, and here I am, number one, the winner, and I won a jug of bug wash and an old like farmer's hat from a gas station.
Right on.
You gotta post it on your IG, Steve.
I know I'm going to. That'd be a good one. I know I have it here. I looked at it like a year ago.
That's the next.
Awesome.
That's the next giveaway we're doing. Can of bug wash and a hat.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. To the big wheel. Yeah, it was awesome.
So next level hunter, you're making some stuff and some things.
Yeah, you know, so next I actually came out with a brand. Oh man, I don't know when. It was W2K, and it stood for Will to Kill.
I remember.
And I had big aspirations of kind of developing that brand, because you know, from a marketing standpoint, I think you got to build a brand before you have a product. Otherwise, it doesn't fall into place.
Mm-hmm.
So I started this W2K and, you know, went down to the mall and got a couple of hats built, you know, stitched up W2K. It was cool, but it had the word kill in it. And all of the big wigs, all of the big business guys that I knew, they're like, it's got the word kill in it. I don't know if you want to do that. Anyways, it kind of fizzled out. And I thought to myself, you know, this was a couple years later, and I'm like, you know what? Next level hunter. I want to do it. I want to do a thing called Next Level Hunter, because this is anyone that takes the extra time on the range, that takes the time to paper tune, you know, gets into, I mean, the fine little things that you do to make yourself a better hunter. To me, that's next level. So I was like, Next Level Hunter it is. And then I can remember like the first couple times I started to really pump it. And then I'd look back at it and I'd be like, I think I'm telling everybody that I'm the next level hunter. And I was like, oh shit, what do I do with that? So, you know, over time, you know, but again, educating the masses, right? They're like, who does this guy think he is, Next Level Hunter? I went to the ATA show and they're like, really? You're going to wear that hat? And I'm proud of it, right? Like, this is my new thing, right? And I remember it was actually Tim from Solo Hunter. He goes, you're really going to wear that here? And I was like, you know, under my breath, I'm like, kiss my ass, you know? And, but yeah, it could have come off, you know, a little pompous for sure. But I think now, you know, everybody kind of they're on the same page. It's Next Level Hunter. You know, that's you. That's anyone that goes the extra mile, you know?
It's rubbed off on my everyday life. Like if somebody, like no shit, Steve, like if somebody sends me a picture of a bear, I'm like, that bear is next level. Like I'm always saying next level. It's kind of fucking stuck with me.
That's awesome. You know, I think it's catching along, and you know, that's another thing, you know, again, you talk about standing on this, having the privilege to stand on a little bit, you know, elevated publicity kind of level, your voice gets heard a little more. And, it's that hunting fraternity, the brothers and sisters that I feel that I have that are true hunters. I put them, if they were your own kids, you wish the best for your kids, and you got doctors and lawyers. Well, for me, hunters are up here. We're the first that are going to still stop in today's day and age and help you change a flat tire. We're the first that are still going to help an old lady with her groceries into the back of her car. These are old school fundamentals that I just kind of believe that's who hunters are, and next level hunter, that fraternity, I've seen it. It exists, because when I need their back, whether I'm in a fight, social media, or fighting, standing up for our gun rights, or, they're there. I guarantee you, I've seen the fraternity. They're there.
Yep. I know. Yeah. It's for the most part, yeah, I'd say we're a good group of people. There's a few bad apples, but
yeah, I mean, there's always going to be bad apples.
Yeah.
And, there's some people that want to try. There's some people that want to try to fight that fight, but alongside you, but just do it so in a manner that's so untasteful that they're actually creating harm than help.
Yeah.
Like, I don't need to see your 17 pictures of fawns, that you headshot, just so you can make a point. I don't need to see that.
No.
You want to throw those steaks in your freezer, fill your boots, man. A buck eats just as good as a doe, as far as I'm concerned. So to each to own, right? But it's just, those are the kind of things that I think in a public eye that I will kind of resort to, or what I believe in, and go, yeah, the public doesn't need to see all of it. But again, if you wanted to just be the rawest form of an old school hunter, there's no way that would fly in today's day and age.
I wanted to ask you this. How was the feedback on shooting the porcupine? Because I know I had people message me. No shit, Steve. I had people message me and they're like, do you see Steve shot a fucking porcupine? But to me, like, we on the farm, we shoot every porcupine we see because they're in the dogs and they're in the freaking horses and everything. Yeah. So I'm like, well, he shot a porcupine. They're like, well, do you think he should have posted it? I said, well, why the hell not? I don't know. It's a porcupine. What was the feedback on that?
I didn't. I got more negative feedback when I mocked up that Miley Cyrus wrecking ball. I don't know if you ever saw that one.
I can't remember.
I've never seen it, but I'm here for it. I'm going to find that right now.
I jumped on, there was a deer carcass hanging, like totally, we'd taken all the meat off it and it was just the bones. And, the song come on and I was like, hey, isn't that? And they're like, yeah. And I'm like, video this.
Oh no.
I just jump on there and swung back and forth. But, if you got your panties in a wad to the point where that upsets you, then just scroll on by, defriend me. Don't watch the show. Thanks for being here. Thanks for being a hunter, but yeah, I don't need you.
It's just everybody's so watered down nowadays with everything.
Like the porcupine, you're 100%. You see, where I shot that porcupine? I'm on a horse ranch. Those things getting those. I mean, we're talking about big dollar horses, So yeah, you see a porcupine, you pound it 100%.
Yep.
And then you get the people, well, are you going to eat it? No, I'm not going to eat it.
Yeah.
You can, but I'm not going to.
Yeah. It's just like, it's just like going to a gopher town and shooting gophers all day. We're not picking them up and eating them.
Oh yeah.
So,
there's a lot of those double standards, I look at, I cut my teeth in Saskatchewan on, shooting whitetail deer on the tail end of a drive as the poster. And I mean, every deer you shoot at's running full tilt. And, you start off, you're shooting behind them. Next thing you know, you're knocking them over because you're hitting them in the back end. And then eventually, if you do it enough, you're shooting them up in the good spots where you're supposed to. And people are like, well, you shouldn't shoot at a running deer. And I'm like, well, again, growing up, it wasn't, we're shooting them any way we could because we're eating them, but so many different double standards. So I could easily come out and say, okay, well, have you ever goose hunted? And if you wanted to get right down to it, that's probably the most barbaric thing anyone could ever do, because you're pounding these birds with lead and they're just flying away.
Yeah.
How many birds have you wounded in your lifetime?
Yeah. I'm not a waterfowl guy, but
there's just so many things. People get so uptight about all these different things. And again, I think it's just, it's just soft is the best way I could put it, without getting right into it. Soft. Yeah. Anywho.
Yeah.
Well, Steve, that was a fast hour.
That's an hour already. Oh yeah.
We cruised through her. Thanks so much for coming on, man. And it sounds like you have a pretty exciting season ahead of you here, going for Fannin up north there. That's, I think that's on both of our lists, but the Grizz hunt too will be cool. I look forward to seeing that. And yeah, man. How can everybody find you? I'm sure everybody in our audience knows how to find you already, but
first and foremost, I guess the Edge TV, on Wild TV, for your listeners down in the States, we're Pursuit Channel, Cowboy Channel, Amazon Prime, RFD TV, in Canada here, Wild TV. And then social media wise, Steve Ecklund, Next Level Hunter, Facebook and IG.
Cool. Right on, man.
Hey, just before we cut loose here. So are you doing Alberta black bear this year in Saskatchewan this spring too? I
am. I'm going to do both. I'm not going to film them. We kind of, with COVID last year, we pounded bears on film, like lots of them. So I'm going to take the year off kind of black bear from the film side of it, but I'll still be doing the hunts for sure.
You're doing recurve with both?
I am. Yeah.
Are you still with the same recurve that you started with, Steve?
I am. Yes.
Yes. You're loyal.
Yeah.
You must like
I
that
don't
bow.
know any better, but it's a damn good bow. It's one of them striker bows, and I gave good money for it. So by God, I'm going to use it till the wheels fall off.
Yeah. Man, you just don't hear much about them striker bows anymore. Hey, do you, Ty?
No, they're not really in my field of view. I seem to be focused in only on a couple of brands these days. I mean, with having become buddies with Jared at Tolkien there, I have a hard time looking at other bows now. I feel like I'm not being loyal to my friend then a little bit, but right.
Yeah.
I actually just ordered another one the other day here. So pretty exciting.
The trad bug bites hard. I there's some guys at work and they had a target out back. They're like, bring your bow. And so when I went on shift, I brought my recurve and I walked out and they kind of looked at me funny and they're like, so we're shooting. And he's like, hey, can I try that? And I'm like, yeah. So he shot like 4 arrows and the other guy shot a few. And then we go back into camp and we're sitting around bullshitting and they're on their phones. We're like, hey, is this a good bow? Is this a good bow? They're looking on their phones to buy one. They actually each bought a recurve that night.
That is awesome.
I'm like, yeah, I'm a bad guy to hang around with. You want to talk?
Have you ever seen that picture when they used to light the flare stacks out here? West or here? Yeah, light the flare stacks with the recurves. Pretty awesome.
Yeah. Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, I mean, I think the threshold to entry coming from the compound to the recurve is a lot. I think the threshold's a lot lower than people think. Because like when I look back at all the animals that I've shot with my bow, I mean, seldomly they're beyond 30 yards, except for maybe Southern Alberta. You can stretch that out quite far. But like, I mean, what's your average shot distance, Steve?
Oh, I thought we're out of time here, folks.
Gotta go. Okay.
No, it's again, that it's a great question. It's one of those questions that I actually field quite a bit, and it's all personal preference. You have to be really comfortable with yourself on when you start talking about distance, because it's going to be different for me.
Yeah.
Wacy, Utah, and Johnny down the street. So if you're super comfortable at 40 yards, then that's your max and you need to stick to it. And why I say it's really hard is because if that buck of a lifetime walks out at 46,
he's getting
what are you going to do? What are you going to do? Right. So you just got to really be realistic with it. And, I'll stretch them out there, and I have, and I'm not afraid to say it, like I'll shoot all the way out to 100 yards, maybe a little past it. But most of those times, I mean, realistically, those are follow-up shots for me. Yeah. You got in tight anywhere between that, 30 to 60 yard range, which is, super, super nice wheelhouse to be in. Yep. And whether I'm gun hunting or bow hunting, if I can still see it, I'm throwing lead or pitching arrows.
Yeah.
Do you remember that night, Steve, when we were drinking there and we got talking about this, and I brought up Tim Wells, and you're like, Tim Wells is a special case because he can throw an arrow at 140 yards at a mule deer and he gets a slap on the back. And Steve's like, if I did that, they'd run me the fuck out of town.
Yeah.
So that's a good case of different yardages for different people, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So,
well,
yeah, man.
There you go. There you have it.
Yeah.
Me and Steve are killing out to 100. Wacy's 20 and in.
We're going to have to do this again, fellas, because I didn't even get a chance for Wace to talk about my harness or Wacy's version of my harness.
Oh
yeah. Yeah. I was bugging Steve. We got time. I was bugging Steve, and I had what the hell did I have? I had an older harness, and I didn't have a rangefinder holder on it. So I took a fucking Coke bottle and I cut it in half and jammed my rangefinder. And then Steve kind of felt bad for me and sent me a harness. So
beauty.
Works good as a spitting tube anyway, right?
Yeah. No, so it's good. I like Steve's harness. Works good. I got so much shit gear, gear compiled right now. So I'm kind of working through it.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, it's awesome.
Right on. Well, thanks for having me, guys. I sure appreciate it.
Yeah, we definitely will bug you to come back on again here soon, and we'll want to hear about your doing some sheep and some grizz hunt, maybe.
Yeah, sounds good.
That'd be awesome.
That'd be awesome. Yeah, we'll catch up after season here, maybe.
Okay, right on.
Right on. Thanks, Steve.
Okay, guys, see ya.
Take care. Thanks for listening. If you enjoyed the podcast, please subscribe and leave us a review. If you want to support the podcast, please check out the gear on our website at www.wildernesslocals.net.